Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down the Alabasta arc chapter by chapter, and today we are on chapter 190, Clima-Tact.
And what a title it is. We get the debut of Nami's new weapon, but more importantly, we get a piece of Zoro's history that completely recontextualizes his journey to this point.
Oh, it is a monster of a lore drop. This is one of those chapters that just locks in why Zoro is who he is. We get one of the coldest lines he has ever uttered in the entire series.
He has a few of those.
He really does. But this one, it's foundational. And it happens right as he squares off against Daz Bones, Mr. One. If you're a fan of the crew defining who they are through their actions, not just their words, you should probably define yourself as a follower of this podcast. It helps us keep the ship sailing. Now, let's get into it.
The chapter opens right where we left off. Nami is running for her life from Mr. One and Miss Doublefinger.
And you can feel her panic. She's thinking to herself, I have to fight them, but her legs just keep moving. It's that classic internal struggle. Her courage is pushing forward, but her survival instinct, the thing that has kept her alive her entire life, is screaming at her to run.
It's a very real conflict, and I think it's important to frame it within her history. This isn't just general fear, it's the ingrained trauma from 8 years under Arlong. Her primary survival strategy was never to fight head-on. It was to deceive, to steal, to endure, and most importantly, to run when necessary. That instinct doesn't just vanish because she's joined a new crew.
That is an excellent point. It's like a muscle memory of fear. She knows she's with Luffy and Zoro now. She knows she has backup, but in that split second when two top-tier assassins are bearing down on her, her body defaults to the only thing that kept her alive for nearly a decade.
Exactly. She knows she needs to stand her ground for Vivi, for the crew, but these are the top agents of Baroque Works. Her instincts aren't wrong. This is an unwinnable fight for her as she is. It's a conflict between who she was and who she wants to become.
Precisely. And Mr. One is getting tired of the game. He's not the type for a long chase. He is all business, all efficiency. He just lunges, this blur of motion, ready to end it right there. And Nami is dead to rights. There's no escaping this. The panel is drawn in such a way that you feel the speed and the finality of it.
And then, the sound of steel on steel, that iconic shing that so often means salvation for the Straw Hats.
Zoro just appears out of nowhere, blocking the attack, saving Nami at the absolute last possible second. It's such a classic swordsman entrance. No fanfare, just action. He's just there when he needs to be. It's become his defining characteristic within the crew dynamic. He's the silent guardian.
It's true. Luffy is the one who charges ahead and breaks down the main door, but Zoro is the one who ensures the walls don't collapse on everyone else while he's doing it. He just seems to materialize in these moments of crisis whenever someone is in over their head. It's his role.
And he's so nonchalant about it. He doesn't even say a cool one-liner right away. He just does his job. He immediately takes stock of the situation. He sees the building behind where Nami was standing, and there's a clean slice mark right through it. He knows this isn't just a simple attack. The look on his face is pure analysis. He's not shocked. He's processing data.
He understands immediately that the cutting power of this opponent is immense. He's not dealing with an amateur. He blocked the attack, but he registered the force and sharpness behind it.
And Mr. One doesn't waste any time with monologues. He just attacks again, this time with a kick that has a blade extending from his shin, and Zoro blocks it with 2 swords. The sound effect is just this harsh clang, and Zoro realizes this guy's body isn't normal. There's something deeply wrong with how he fights. The physics are off.
And then we get the reveal. Mr. One calmly explains that he ate the Supa no Mi, the dice fruit. He's a blade human. His entire body can be turned into steel blades.
And that is a terrifying concept for a swordsman. How do you cut a man who is made of what you're trying to cut? It immediately establishes the puzzle of the fight. This isn't about who's faster or stronger in a conventional sense. It's about whether Zoro can even damage this guy. It's like trying to punch a man made of fists. It's a conceptual nightmare.
It's a perfect thematic challenge for him. Throughout the series, Zoro's goal is to be able to cut anything. He faced the ultimate swordsman, Mihawk, and failed. Now he faces the ultimate defense against a sword, a man who is the sword. It forces him to question the very nature of cutting. What does it mean to cut something? Is it just about sharpness and force, or is there something more?
That's so good. It's a physical fight, but it's really a philosophical exam for Zoro. And the fruit itself is so wild. A paramecia that gives the user the properties of a material, but in a way that's almost like a logia in terms of defense against conventional attacks. It's a hard counter.
It also explains his demeanor. He's the #1 male agent for a reason. He has this calm, untouchable confidence because, against most opponents, he is untouchable. He has no reason to be agitated or theatrical. He is a walking execution.
And then things get even more interesting. Mr. One recognizes Zoro. He says, "You're the one who took down 100 bounty hunters at Whiskey Peak." The crew's reputation is preceding them, even among the top brass of the criminal underworld. The events of one night have made them infamous on the Grand Line.
It shows how interconnected the underworld is. Crocodile would of course receive reports about a major outpost of his organization being wiped out, and the name Zoro would have been at the top of that report. It's not just a rumor, it's an intelligence briefing.
But it's Miss Doublefinger who drops the real bomb. She points out that Baroque Works tried to recruit Zoro a couple of years ago. A Mr. 7 was sent to bring him in.
This is the moment the chapter elevates. We've always known Zoro was a famous bounty hunter in the East Blue, but this single line of dialogue retroactively raises his status. He wasn't just a big fish in a small pond. He was a talent that a major Grand Line organization, one working directly under a warlord of the sea, had identified as a potential officer agent.
Yes, this is just, what a moment. We're finally getting a real glimpse into Zoro's life as a bounty hunter before he met Luffy. We knew he was famous in the East Blue, but this confirms he was on the radar of Grand Line organizations. He was already playing in the big league, so to speak, even if he didn't know the full scope of the game.
And Zoro just confirms it, cool as anything. No surprise, no hesitation. He just says, "Now that you mention it," as if he's recalling what he had for breakfast last Tuesday. The sheer level of unbothered is incredible, and then he gives the condition he laid down.
I told him I'd only join if I could be the boss.
It's perfect. It is the most Roronoa Zoro thing he could possibly say. No hesitation, just a simple statement of his own ambition. He doesn't follow, he leads, or he walks his own path. It speaks volumes about his character. He has never, not for 1 second, seen himself as a subordinate to anyone who hasn't earned his absolute respect.
And that's the key, right? He respects Luffy. He sees Luffy's ambition and strength and has chosen to follow him. But some random Mr. 7 from an organization he's never heard of? To Zoro, that guy is just an obstacle. The arrogance is beautiful. It's not born of pride, but of self-knowledge. He knows his own worth.
It also provides a stark contrast between him and the Baroque Works agents. Their entire identity is subsumed by the organization. They are given numbers as names. They serve an anonymous boss, Mr. Zero. They are, in essence, tools. Zoro could never be a tool. He is a weapon, but he chooses who wields him. And right now, that's himself and his captain.
And you see the difference right there between him and the Baroque Works agents. They're all just tools for Crocodile. They have numbers instead of names. Zoro was never going to be a number. He was either going to be #1 or nothing. It retroactively makes his first meeting with Luffy even more meaningful. Luffy didn't try to recruit a tool. He freed a man and asked him to be his partner.
An excellent point. And we find out what happened to that Mr. 7. Apparently, he didn't like Zoro's answer and tried to recruit him by force. Zoro's response is so chillingly simple. He just says he killed him.
Just straight up. No ambiguity. He tried to force me, so I killed him. It shows you the level he was already operating at before he ever met Luffy. He wasn't some rookie. He was a killer who could take down an established agent from a major Grand Line syndicate. This reframes his entire time in the East Blue. He wasn't just the strongest guy there. He was a Grand Line level threat who just happened to be in the weakest sea.
It adds a layer of lethality to his character that we, the audience, might have forgotten. We see him bickering with Sanji and getting lost, but this line reminds us that at his core, Roronoa Zoro is an extremely dangerous man. It also subtly explains why there's a new Mr. Seven in Alabasta, the one we saw with Miss Father's Day at the clock tower. The position was vacant.
Bro, that is cold. But then Zoro adds the real character moment, the absolute core of the scene. He looks at them, at these top agents, and says that even if they came to him right now and offered him the boss position, he'd still turn it down.
Because he now knows how they operate. He's seen their cruelty in Whisky Peak, he's heard about their plot in Alabasta, their willingness to sacrifice entire countries for their own gain. His moral compass, which can sometimes seem directionless, is pointing firmly away from them.
It's more than that, though. It's a declaration of loyalty. He's saying he's found something better. Being the boss of a soulless organization like Baroque Works means nothing compared to being a part of Luffy's crew. He's found his place, his family. He wouldn't trade it for anything. That's his real strength. This isn't the lone wolf from Shellstown anymore.
It's a profound character beat. It solidifies his role as the first mate, the unwavering pillar of the crew. Luffy is the heart, the driving force of ambition. Zoro is the iron will that backs it up. He is saying, the position you offer is meaningless because I have already found my king. He doesn't say it in those words, but the sentiment is clear as day.
He's effectively telling them that their entire value system is bankrupt. Power for power's sake? Being the boss of a bunch of numbered goons? It's empty. Being second in command to the man who will be king of the pirates? That's everything. Super.
It is. His ambition hasn't lessened, but its focus has shifted. He wants to be the world's greatest swordsman to help his captain become the king of the pirates. His personal goal now serves a collective one. This is the moment that allegiance is truly articulated.
Absolutely beautiful. And with that, the fight is on. Zoro versus Mr. One. While this is happening, Miss Doublefinger decides she's not needed here. She peels off to go hunt down the real weak link.
She goes after Nami, who has wisely used the commotion to escape. The scene shifts and we find Nami hiding in a secluded alleyway somewhere. And I want to praise Nami's intelligence here. She recognized that Zoro stepping in created an opportunity, and she didn't just stand there gawking. She immediately relocated to a more defensible position.
Good call. She's a survivor. She uses every advantage she can get. And she's not just cowering, she's thinking. We get a flashback to her talking with Usopp back on the Going Merry.
She specifically asked him to make her a weapon. She says she wants to be able to fight, to be useful, and she says it's for Vivi's sake.
This is such a pivotal moment for her character. This is Nami deciding she's done being the damsel. She's seen Vivi fighting with everything she has for her country, a princess willing to get her hands bloody, and it's inspired her. She wants to contribute on the front lines, not just as the navigator who gets them from A to B.
This is her version of Zoro's declaration of loyalty. Zoro declares it with words and a challenge. Nami declares it with action, by seeking out a way to become stronger for her friends. She understands that on the Grand Line, navigating isn't enough to protect the people she cares about. She needs to be able to physically defend their dream.
The interaction with Usopp is perfect too. She's so earnest and passionate about it, and he immediately understands. He doesn't question her. He doesn't say, "But Nami, you're not a fighter." He sees her determination, and his inventor's brain starts firing on all cylinders. He says he'll make her a weapon that only she can master.
That line is so important. A weapon that only you, with your knowledge of weather and navigation, can master. He's not just handing her a sword or a gun. He's creating something that synergizes with her unique talents. He's empowering what makes her special, not trying to turn her into something she's not.
And she's so overjoyed, she just grabs him in this huge hug. And Usopp, being Usopp, immediately gets flustered and starts talking about needing funds and materials for the project. His face goes completely red. It's hilarious and so wholesome.
It keeps them so perfectly in character. Nami's passion, Usopp's practicality and slight cowardice, and the underlying bond of trust between them. She trusts him to build something for her, and he trusts her to use it. It's a wonderful showcase of the crew's internal relationships. They support each other's growth.
Back in the present, Nami is holding this new weapon. It looks like a 3-part bow staff. It's sleek, simple, doesn't look like much. She steels her resolve, promising herself that she's done running. She's going to fight. This is the new Nami.
And just as she has this powerful, defining moment of character growth, a spike shoots through the wall she's leaning against and stabs her right in the shoulder.
It's so brutal. Oda gives her this amazing moment of resolve and then immediately has Miss Doublefinger find and impale her. It's a shocking beat. It's a physical representation of her old life and her old fears literally piercing through her newfound determination.
Miss Doublefinger reveals her own devil fruit power. She ate the Toge Toge Nomi, the spike fruit. She can grow sharp spikes from any part of her body, a truly vicious and direct power.
So we have a blade man and a spike woman. Baroque Works really went all in on the sharp and pointy theme for their top agents. I guess Crocodile has a type.
It seems so. And Nami is cornered. She's injured. Her moment of resolution lasted all of 5 seconds before reality came crashing back in. But this time is different.
It is. She doesn't scream, she doesn't panic, she winces in pain, clutches her shoulder, but she gets up, readies her staff, and faces her opponent. The growth she just decided on is being put to the test a second later, and she's not failing. Getting stabbed and still choosing to fight is 1,000 times more impressive than choosing to fight when you're unharmed.
It does assemble the 3 pieces of the staff into one, and it clicks together. She calls it the Clima-Tact. The name itself, combining climate and tactics, speaks to its intended function. It's a tool for a weather strategist.
And then she makes a bold claim. She tells a top officer of Baroque Works, an assassin who just stabbed her through a wall, that her little stick can manipulate the weather.
Miss Doublefinger is completely taken aback. The idea is absurd. How could a simple staff control the weather? We, the audience, are thinking the same thing. What did Usopp possibly create? This is Grand Line tech we're talking about. It could be anything.
The tension is incredible. Nami readies her attack. She looks confident. She calls out a technique. Fine tempo.
And a bunch of doves fly out of the end of her staff.
Just party trick doves. It is one of the greatest comedic rug pulls Oda has ever done. You have this life or death battle, this huge character moment for Nami, her big debut as a fighter, and it culminates in a magic trick. The tonal whiplash is enough to give you a concussion. I was dying laughing when I first read this.
Nami is mortified. She's furious. She's cursing Usopp under her breath. You can just feel her rage and embarrassment. All that buildup, all that resolve, crashing down into a puff of feathers. It's a brilliant subversion of the new power-up trope.
She tries to recover. You can see her scrambling. She says she has to believe in her friends. She has to believe in Usopp. It's a testament to her faith in him that even after that, she's willing to give it another shot. She consults some instructions that seem to be written on the staff itself and prepares for another attack.
Surely, this one will be the real deal. She's figured it out now. She calls out, "Cloudy tempo."
And then flowers pop out of the other end, like from a clown's lapel.
It's just devastatingly funny. Nami is so defeated she just slams the Clima-Tact on the ground in frustration. The weapon that was supposed to be her key to becoming a fighter is, as far as she can tell, a gag toy.
And Miss Doublefinger is just loving it. She's laying on the sarcastic sympathy, telling Nami how sorry she feels for her, how her friend must have been playing a prank. It's psychological warfare. She's not just trying to kill Nami, she's trying to break her spirit first. And it leaves Nami in an absolutely hopeless situation. She's injured, her weapon is apparently a joke, and she's facing an assassin who can turn her body into a weapon.
It's a fantastic cliffhanger for her plotline. We know there has to be more to the weapon, but Nami doesn't. She has to figure it out right here, right now, or she's going to die. The battle becomes one of wits, not just power. Can she understand her friend's invention under the ultimate pressure?
That's the genius of it. It's both a hilarious gag and a source of incredible tension. That's Oda in a nutshell.
Before we get to predictions, I want to quickly mention Oda's author comment for the week.
Oh, what did he have to say?
He was just hyping up the first One Piece art book, Color Walk 1. He said, "Take my word for it, it's really something. I dedicate it to a world full of hardships," which is just a nice little note from the creator, especially given the themes of the Alabasta arc.
It is. His art is certainly worth collecting. Okay, that was chapter 190. An incredible setup for two major fights. Let us know in the comments what you thought of the Clima-Tact's big debut. I have to say, I never would have guessed stage magic in a million years.
I doubt it. All right, predictions for chapter 191. You go first, Robin.
Okay, my first prediction is that we're going to see the core problem of the Zoro versus Mr. One immediately. Zoro is going to land a hit, a powerful one, and it's going to do absolutely nothing. We'll get a shot of his swords just scraping against Mr. One's steel skin, maybe leaving a faint scratch that immediately buffs out, and Zoro will realize he literally cannot cut this man with his current level of skill.
I like that. Establishing the stakes. That's a good one.
My second prediction is about Nami. Miss Doublefinger, seeing the Clima-Tact as a joke, is going to get cocky and explain her own powers in more detail. She'll demonstrate how she can create spikes from anywhere, maybe turning her fingers into needles or her arms into blades. And in doing so, she'll give Nami a crucial hint about how to fight back using distance and misdirection, perhaps by revealing a weakness or a limitation to her spiky transformations.
So the villain monologue actually becomes a useful intel drop. Classic. Okay, my turn. My first prediction is that we're going to learn that Nami's Clima-Tact works by combining the effects of the three different segments. The instructions Usopp wrote are a step-by-step guide. The flowers and doves aren't the main attack, they're ingredients. Maybe the flowers release a certain kind of pollen, and another segment creates a spark, and a third creates a gust of wind. They're components for a larger weather effect she hasn't figured out yet.
That seems very plausible for an Usopp invention. Complex, a little silly, but ultimately effective if used correctly. A puzzle box that doubles as a weapon.
Exactly. My second prediction is that we're not going to stay with these two fights for the whole chapter. We're going to cut over to Sanji. He's still on his way to Crocodile's base of operations, Rain Dinners, and I think he's finally going to run into his opponent, Mr. 2, Bon Clay. The fight we've been waiting for ever since they met on the open sea is about to begin.
A third fight kicking off? That would be a very packed chapter. My final prediction then, the chapter will end on Zoro. After realizing he can't cut steel, he's going to have a brief flashback to his training with his master, Koshiru. Koshiru will have told him a seemingly paradoxical lesson about the concept of a sword that can cut anything and a sword that can cut nothing, and how the greatest swordsmen understand the breadth of things. It'll be the first seed planted for his big power-up.
Ooh, tying it back to his origin. That feels right. That feels like exactly what Oda would do to frame the internal journey of this fight for Zoro. He doesn't just need to get stronger, he needs to get smarter and more in tune with his blades. Super. That's a great set of predictions.
We'll see who's right next time.
That's all for this episode of Inherited Dawn. We'll see you on the next tide.